The governor of Kaduna State, Ubasani, has lamented the huge debt left behind by the former governor of the state, Malam El-Rufai, which he said has crippled his ability to manage the state, including paying school fees. He said he inherited a debt of $587 million and over 87 billion naira. Many state governors have also borrowed heavily and left behind massive debts for their successors. Many analysts think that many of these debts are either frivolous or are not well managed, considering the level of development of the state. What should be done to ensure debt sustainability in the state? What does rising debts in the state tell us about legislative due process? Associate Professor of Law and a RISE analyst, Dr. Sam Amadi, is here to dissect these issues. Very warm welcome to Newsnight.
Thank you, Chris.
Humongous debts. Nigeria is never tired of borrowing. We listened to Senator Jimo Ibrahim. He said we should borrow and borrow more, comparing Nigeria to a 12 million population of Dubai or so that is indebted to about 160 or 80 billion dollars and the rest. But it does not seem to be reflected in the development of this country. Why within 10 months, 13 governors by the office of the DMO said they've borrowed over $250 billion. Naira.
The economics of borrowing, people say, okay, why you borrow for infrastructure?
I remember the DG of DMO will always emphasize that it is good to borrow. That we have not even borrowed enough.
But there's a problem here. If you look at the debt to GDP, they say we are still within the prudential threshold. We are probably about less than 40% of our debt. But if you look at the debt to servicing ratio, meaning that we are spending more of our revenue servicing at the federal level. But look at the problem. The assumption of debt is that economic development requires capital accumulation. So either you save and invest, you borrow, windfall. Maybe oil, suddenly oil goes up in the world market, and you have a windfall, you save it. That's the idea of the sovereign wealth
escrow
fund,
accounts,
escrow
the sovereign,
account, all that.
Yeah,
okay?
but the governors, they went to the Supreme Court.
So Peter B said he saved. Now these are two scenarios. You saved money for a predecessor to start off. You borrow a lot of money for yourself. But the question is, what is this for? Now look at, for example, Kaduna State. They talk about using to improve IGR and several other projects they have done. But look at something like schools are not safe because they don't have walls around them. Look at human health indicator, clinics. Look at the question I ask if you go and look at these states, not just Kaduna, several places. Look at Abia, which is also very high on that debt list. What you see on ground, do they suggest this amount of debt? So you might be borrowing at both ends. You are borrowing, and it creates what you call perverse incentive to spend. If you look at the timeline, a lot of borrowing happened in Kaduna between 2018 and 2019. It moved from 200 something million dollars to about 500 or thereabout. Now, people say that represents a period of election. So sometimes this borrowing are cynical. You borrow, spend to win election.
Conduct election.
Yes, some people spend their borrowing to go and win election. So the notion that state governors are borrowing for public interest, number one. Now, if you look at the Fiscal Responsibility Act, section 44, 42, 41, and then DMO, I think 2024, they lay out down criteria. I remember when Kaduna State wanted to borrow from the World Bank. The National Assembly approved it. Sani, senator, raised against it. Now, the requirement of law is cost-benefit analysis, which tells you this borrowing, what we use it for, capital investment must be used for, that's what the law says. Secondly is cost-benefit. What's the benefit of this loan in terms of real economic value? Again, you look at also from the perspective of how does it contribute to poverty alleviation. So if you look at the law, they don't follow rigor. That's the first thing. People oppose. Look, tell us, show us the cost-benefit analysis is a very methodical process. You have to list the benefit, not fictional. Not
is the debt management office not culpable in this? Is there no?
They are culpable in a way because don't forget some of this debt must first receive a ministerial approval.
Yes.
The DMA said the Debt Management Office Act says the minister must approve before sub-sovereigns can borrow. So first the ministerial, Two, legislative, in terms of, for example, debts that... So
No. I mean, Sam, we all know how the state assemblies are. Should we...
Rubber stamp.
No.
So that's why the Fiscal Responsibility Act gives this federal government some kind of trump over state borrowing. Because how did this arise? Under Obasanjo, we saw reckless subnationals borrowing recklessly. And each of those debts distort economic management. If they're not used for investment, when the time reaches to pay, oftentimes federal government backstops these debts. You know, if it's foreign debts like the World Bank or foreign development agencies borrowing to a sub-state, the federal government guarantees and therefore have liability. So the question, 3 questions to answer is, the notion that we can borrow, the new IPSA government also borrowed extensively. And they say, look, we're driving investment in infrastructure. Let's bear this in mind. There's a time lag between when infrastructure begins to create economic value. Secondly, some infrastructure, for example, a world-class stadium in a place like Ebonyi, the Ebonyi airport, for example, today, nobody's flying there. Now, this is a state that if you look at the Human Development Index, it's very poor. It lags behind. It's an outlying southeast. Do we need those kind of investment? We don't have feeder roads. So the 3 issues. One is amount of borrowing and the structure. Second is, what kind of infrastructure are you using it for? Because some of this infrastructure might be too, if you like, audacious, they look big, but they may not really return value where the state is economically now. And the third issue to look at is repayment. They kick the can.
You see, I like the Ebonyi example you've given. Yeah. I remember when the governor, who is the Minister of Works, was there now. He says Ebonyi, is the land of rice and the rest, and they produce the mills and what have you. I thought with that kind of capability,
you go into agro.
No, they should be feeding Nigeria.
But the point that the investments they made, flyover in his village, 3 flyovers. Look, I went about myself. It looks great. I saw a stadium. I asked myself, Ebonyi has no national team,
football team
in 3rd division. So why building a world class?
And it's not as if Manchester City is going to come and play there.
Why is it? So if they fly it, where are they going to play? So the revenue, that's part of what we did with the so-called Cross River. What's that project? Tinapa. Great idea. It failed. It has little sustainability plan. The economics is wrong. You don't do infrastructure that do not, in the short to medium term, spur up economic growth. So first thing is that they mismatch it. They put in infrastructure that's not really necessary where the state is. Second is that they also waste this money. Some of this money is spent for politics and frivolous things. And thirdly, they kick the can down the road. So you borrow a lot of money, and then of course, you won't pay anything. The next government comes. There's a point you have borrowed your capital. But borrowing should be indexed to revenue, to productivity.
Generated, yes, absolutely.
To resources ability. Yeah. So if you have maxed the borrowing, I mean, who will borrow? If a state is owing 1 trillion, for example, and their real GDP is not up to maybe 100 million or 200 million, whether another dollar, why would you borrow them again? So the notion that borrowing is good is the assumption that every debt has up to 60-40% economic impact. In many cases, the money is wasted, the project doesn't make sense, abandoned, the stadium, they were building a big stadium, may not have, if you use small money to open small rural stadia in local governments to help bring up young players,
develop the pitches in the secondary schools parks, and the rest.
Small parks and football pitches. Yeah. You'll be able to train footballers who may go professional.
Yeah.
World-class
footballers.
Exactly. Yeah. So, but building one gigantic stadium where there's no feeder team and there's no linkage with local football, youth soccer, it's waste of money. So we need to tighten back.
What would you be telling the DMO, for example, because whether from the sub-nationals, these requests for loans, would go just like you said. And
what the DMO has done well, they have been transparent in publishing these debts, part of the requirement under the DMO Act. The second aspect, probably they have been advising the president, I mean, the federal agency, the Advanced National Assembly. I think they should now, the reason for the Fiscal Responsibility Act was to control state borrowing. I think it's now back to bring it back. I mean, we understand that they should be able to look again, not just to stop state from borrowing, but to ask questions about what's the economics of this borrowing and how it will be used. Oftentimes, states make a case, borrow the money, and use for nothing. Something that the question is, conduct an audit. Look at the states that are high on debts. Ask yourself, what infrastructure development, rural roads, and look at the value for money. I mean, so somebody will go and borrow a lot of money, condemn the other government to, the current government to such, tight economic situation, and again, don't deliver. So I think we might get back after Obasanjo government, clear these debts. Of course, we don't see the federal government that is getting unsustainable. If you look at revenue, if you look at debt servicing to revenue, it's totally whack, out of order. I mean, GDP to debt deceives us, very low. But debt servicing to revenue is a critical issue. It's already unsustainable. If you couple it with states that are almost bankrupt financially, indebted to this huge amount, it means that we are borrowing at our candle at two ends. You are borrowing, wasting the money, at the same time you're not indebting yourself. So I think that what happened in Kaduna is not just Kaduna. It should trigger a review of state subnational borrowing.
Can that trigger some kind of, I don't know, I don't want to use any words that the security agencies will be alarmed about. When a governor says it is affecting the payment of workers' salary, isn't that dangerous? Isn't that a very wrong signal?
It is dangerous because not payment of salary is actually a security concern. Should be in an economy, poor economy like us, distressed people are worried. Cost of living is going high, inflation is up. So if workers can't even get their salary, that's a danger. But the key question then is Nigerian, we shouldn't treat it cavalierly like, Obasasane. It should trigger a proper review. Of course, states are sovereign constitutionally, but at the same time, we have a national economy. And the federal government is there to nudge, to discipline, and the National Assembly, under the Fiscal Responsibility Act and the DMO, has a responsibility. Debt and borrowing is under the exclusive list. It means that states cannot borrow without some kind of authorization, approval, especially foreign borrowing, the World Bank, the IDAs, or state other foreign governments. They need to begin to look back and say, okay, without dictating to states what their economic management strategy should be, but as a way we should be able to sit back and say, and help the states develop sustainability plan, and also create democratic oversight. If the state assemblies were strong, the governor would present a real cost-benefit analysis. Cost-benefit analysis is a methodology that's well developed. It has to talk about the real cost, the economic cost, opportunity cost, the value proposition, the real expected outcome, how it fits into. Most of these states are very bad in poverty. So borrowings should be able to have a poverty reduction strategy.
Absolutely.
Implicit in it. So we see how this borrowing
is
helps
helping,
to either at least keep poverty without escalating it, or at least reduce the poverty. Those are issues that should be.
Thanks so very much, Dr. Sam Amadi, Associate Professor of Law, Arise Analyst, for coming to shed light on the humongous borrowings and the debt profiles affecting states right now.